Hello. Welcome to the AmericaII video series. My name is John Shar, and I will be your host for this series of 15 videos. This video series will likely not be like any other video series you've seen before, because no other video series has ever attempted to do what I hope this video series will do. Namely, first, to find the real root problems facing our country and show how those root problems have created or are connected to more than 24 symptoms of societal decline in our society. And 3, propose a specific, detailed, workable plan for eliminating the problems altogether without harming anyone in our country. The AmericaII video series is essentially an exercise in problem solving, specifically solving the most serious and damaging problems facing America right now. Problems that have been plaguing us as a society for most of the past century, and they're problems that keep getting worse as each year passes. All of the talking heads on TV, the politicians of every party, the experts from the various think tanks, and the endless number of big-name pundits that churn out writings daily by the hundreds, all seem to me to be lost in the wilderness without a compass. Their offerings completely ignore the most damaging problems facing us, and instead concentrate almost entirely on repeating party line dogmas and sniping at anyone who doesn't agree with them. You view these 15 videos, and I believe that you will come to realize all on your own what has to be done to solve the problems facing us now, get America back on track, and understand what you can do personally to make that happen without any great expenditure of time, effort, or money. The video series is the latest arrow I've added to my quiver, intended to persuade more of America's citizens to get more fully engaged in helping our politicians recognize and solve the most serious problems we face going forward. Problems that at present are not on anyone's radar, and because of that are being completely ignored by the very people we're counting on most to solve them on our behalf. The topics I'll be talking about in this video series will be centered around what our problems are, how they came about over time, how we can solve them, and how we can ensure that they don't keep coming back to bite us every year as they're doing now and have been doing every year for most of the past century. I will do my best to refrain from singling out individual people, politicians, parties, and casting aspersions and blame. There's enough of that out there already. My parents taught me that if you can't offer more positive and or better choices when arguing over matters of principle, just don't say anything. And that's still good advice today. You and I won't be engaging in ongoing debates. That's something you and others may want to do amongst yourselves, and I hope you will. But I will be open to your suggestions and criticisms. I want your feedback. And even if I can't formally respond to every comment, I will read them and take notes and remember them. From time to time, I may dedicate a video session solely to addressing the comments, criticisms, and suggestions you've sent to me. One favor, please. Please refrain from name-calling and obscenities. I won't do that to you, and I ask that you extend the same courtesy to me. I guess that's about it for the introductions. Again, welcome aboard the AmericaII video series. In this introductory video, I think it'll be helpful to first define the playing field. The playing field is our country, the one we all live in, and the only one we'll ever have that we can call our own. In this introductory video, I will share with you some of my own views as to who I believe we are as a society, how we came to be who we are, and what I believe most of us as a society want America to ultimately become as a country. In this introductory video, I'll be talking a bit about our goals as a society, the ideals that we have set for ourselves, and the institutions we've constructed to help us achieve and maintain our goals and ideals, and how well or not our institutions are holding up their end of the bargain in the contract they've made with the citizens to work towards these ends on behalf of everyone in our country. America has always been different from other countries. The thing that has always set us apart from all the other countries are the high standards we set for ourselves at the beginning. Our founding fathers set standards that were then and still are the highest ever set for any country and any society on earth. The standards they established included individual freedoms, equal treatment under the laws, equal justice under the laws, and an opportunity for every citizen to freely pursue his or her happiness as the basic fundamental rights of every citizen. No other country, before or since, has set for itself or even attempted to fulfill such high standards and ideals at their founding. Much is written and has been spoken about why we should cherish our institutions, how they're the backbone of our freedoms, and what they mean to us all from the standpoint of traditions, national security, and the guardians of the citizens' personal rights and freedoms. But our visible institutions, like the White House, the Capitol building, the Supreme Court, the Pentagon, and various other steel and concrete structures we so often refer to as our government, and the people who work there, are really just the trappings of our society. Symbols, really. They're monuments to our desire as a people to achieve the greatness we know we can achieve by following our core beliefs in the ideals of individual freedom, equal justice under the laws, equal treatment under the laws, and an honest ability to pursue that which makes us happy as individuals. And every monument must first have a foundation upon which it can be erected. The foundation of our freedoms and liberties was laid on June 21st, 1788. That's the day our Constitution was ratified and officially became the law of the land for America. Our Constitution is the embodiment of our goals as a society, our ideals, and it provides an operating framework for our most prominent and visible institutions. Our Constitution is now, and has always been, our North Star. It's our guiding light to keep us focused on doing not only what is legal, but also what is right, what is just. Our Constitution is the compass we use every day to keep us pointed in the right direction and sometimes redirect us when we seem to have lost our way temporarily. Perhaps no finer document has ever been penned by the hands of men on this planet. We owe much to those who struggled over more than 2,400 years creating it on our behalf, beginning with Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and culminating with our founding fathers on June 21st, 1788. But the single most important institution in our country is still its citizens, working together to guide our politicians and help them advance these causes on behalf of all the nation's citizens, and in doing so, to make America all it can be. Our goals as citizens come down to a single one: doing our parts individually to see to it that our initially stated goals, ideals, and institutions continue to actually function in the long term, in the future, the way they were intended to at the beginning, and not allow them to be reduced to just words on paper or to buzzwords we use when making speeches at election time. Today, there's a lot of talk, also a fair amount of venom relating to a movement that has been tagged as MAGA. MAGA stands for Make America Great Again. That saying, which actually started with Franklin Delano Roosevelt during the first Great Depression in the 1930s and 1940s, and has since been resurrected twice, once by Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, early 1980s, during another severe depression period in our country, and most recently by Donald Trump in 2018 or thereabouts in our current and ongoing depression period. Needs to be moved, needs to be modified, and improved to read, Make America All It Can Be. On June 21st, 1788, the day our Constitution became the law of the land for America, we as a nation immediately emerged to become the greatest nation on earth on that day, and have stayed that way every day since. Because on June 21st, 1788, the United States of America emerged as the first and still only nation ever constituted on planet Earth with its sole reason for existing being to provide a place on Earth where freedom, equality, justice, and an honest ability to pursue happiness were guaranteed to every citizen as the basic fundamental rights of their citizenship. Those rights were intended by way of our Constitution to be protected by the government for all time and at whatever the cost for all of the citizens, all of the citizens, all of the citizens of the country. So we as a nation are already great and have been for 237 years now. But at the same time, America has not yet even come close to being all that it can be. Our greatness as a nation originally sprang, and still does, from our stated reasons for existing in the first place. And to the extent that we adhere to those principles of freedom, equal treatment under the laws, equal justice under the laws, and providing every citizen an opportunity to fully pursue happiness for himself or herself and their families, we will remain the greatest nation on earth. But to the extent that we choose to deviate from these highest of all principles, or worse, choose to abandon them completely, our greatness as a nation can and will be greatly diminished. It's happened before, many times, in many societies and many civilizations on our planet over the millennia. To make certain that it doesn't happen also to America, we must, as individual citizens, fulfill our roles as guardians and custodians of these most valuable of all rights. I want to talk a little about advances, retreats, deviations from our goals, and accountability. Because we tend naturally to think in terms of our own wants and needs first, and only later to what the needs of our whole society are, there exist many combinations of circumstances and topics that create divisions between us and amongst us. The constant struggle to balance our individual needs with the needs of our entire society, especially when there seem to be so many different needs all competing for attention at the same time, creates a level of what might be termed white noise in the background of whatever's going on. And that white noise seems too often to drown out reasoned discourse in our institutions. And the end result is that our compass, our Constitution's needle, has been pointing more and more often away from true north over the past few decades, sometimes moving in one direction, other times moving in the opposite direction, but always away from true north. In this turtle's opinion, that hasn't been good for our country or most of the citizens living in it. And it begs the question as to why our guiding light now seems to be flickering dimly, about as often as it is shining brightly. In 1980, the man who was soon to become our president, while running for the office of president, asked Americans this question: are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? At that time, a majority of citizens decided they were not better off and elected him to try to make things better. He got off to a fast start, but then, like most presidents, over time morphed into becoming just more of an average politician. And now it's 2025, almost half a century after he asked that question, and America is now less well off today than it was then, if we can believe the polls. Both of our main political parties have had ample opportunities to make things better, both individually, working by themselves, and collectively, working together much better, actually. But that hasn't happened. Why it hasn't happened, And all of that time is the crux of the questions the AmericaII video series will be seeking answers to going forward. And now, almost half a century later, speaking as Jack the Turtle, I believe that it's time for all Americans to ask themselves this question: is America better off as a country than it was 50 years ago? And are we going in the right direction? Please keep that question in the back of your mind and think what your answer will be when we start our next AmericaII video session. These are the kinds of questions I set out more than 25 years ago to find answers to when I began working on the first draft of AmericaII, the book that started the AmericaII problem-solving experiment that this video is now a part of. And now, more than 25 years later, I believe I finally found some of the answers. And I'd like to share them with you at your leisure, of course. But it's time now to wind down this introductory video in the AmericaII series. Summing up, this has been the playing field of our country, from my view, concerning who we are as a society, how we came to be who we are, and why I believe most of us as a society want America to ultimately be all it has always aspired to be, the only nation ever constituted on planet Earth with its sole reason for existing, that of providing a place on Earth where individual freedom, equal treatment under the laws, equal justice under the laws, and an honest ability to pursue happiness are granted to every citizen as the basic fundamental rights of their citizenship. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And thanks for caring about our country and wanting to see America and us become all that we can be together. Be well.